All right, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Straight Talk, where we are answering Q&As. We're talking all things competitive bodybuilding, regular bodybuilding, fitness, you name it. Today, the topic is what it really costs to compete. And I've done a few of these before, but I always think it's important because a lot of time people get into a prep or want to start a prep and then I've even seen it where they're not able to finish a prep because of the cost. Keep in mind, bodybuilding is not a cheap sport and it's not expensive from one or two purchases. It's death by a thousand cuts. It's little expenses that compound and add up month over over month that are going to require you to spend a significant amount of money. Now, this is competitive bodybuilding, even standard body. Like if you're in the gym and you're focusing on getting better, you are a bodybuilder. So once you take that to the next level and you want to compete, the cost goes up exponentially. So the first uh, expense is coaching. Yes, you can coach yourself, which if you can, that's, great. I have a coach. I've been doing this for over a decade. I'm not going to go into the reasons on why or why you shouldn't have a coach. That's entirely up to you. But just factor in that the average coaching cost is going to be between $250 and $500 a month. Most preps are 16 to 24 weeks. So you're looking at, anywhere from $1,000 to $3,000 alone just in your coaching to get ready for a show. The next thing is food, and this is where a lot of people underestimate. As you get into prep, food is going to get a little bit more expensive. It's usually higher protein, lower carbohydrates, whereas in the off season, it's the other way around. Carbohydrates are probably one of the most affordable foods that you can get, protein being one of the most expensive, and then fats usually fall somewhere in the middle. For men's physique category, you're looking most of the time 3 to 4,000 calories in the off season, and then anywhere from about 2,000 to 3,000 during prep. Women generally require less food, but we're still talking about buying higher end protein. You can get away with doing canned tuna and chicken, things like that, but the fact of the matter is, if you can afford to do better, you're typically going to feel better and you'll notice it in other areas. But lean meats, rice, potatoes, egg whites, fruits, veggies, sparkling waters, 0 calorie drinks, you're looking at anywhere from 100 to $250 above what you would normally spend in groceries. So that's probably going to put you somewhere around the $600 to $1,500 range. So now, just in food and coaching alone, we're right around 1,600 low end to about 4,500 high end. All right. The next one's going to be supplements. This is going to be your OTC supplements, creatine, EAAs, greens, digestive support, sleep aids, fish aids, multivitamins, all that good stuff. Not all of it is necessary, but you're probably going to have a decent amount. If you tackle it or if you add in PEDs to any of that or AASs, the cost is going to go up exponentially. And then you're also going to need a substantial amount of ancillaries to make sure the kidney function, heart health, all of those good things are in check if you're doing it right, which if you are, please do it right. I'm not going to get into that. That's a whole nother topic, but if you're going to go that route, just make sure you're doing everything you can to support your health on the back end. So usually, I mean, with that, you're anywhere from about 250 to 750, $1,000 a month, depending on what you're taking and what you need. Then we get into the competition expenses. Entry fees, anywhere from 150 to $250 per category. Category. So if you are somebody that is doing masters, you're doing open, you're doing novice, you're doing true novice, that can be anywhere from $600 to $1,000 to run those four classes. NPC card, which is a requirement, you're looking at $150 there. Posing suit for women, you're probably 3 to 800 plus for a decent suit. Men for shorts and trunks, you're probably 75 to $100. Women figure in jewelry, heels, alterations, hair, makeup. You're about 500 to $1,800. The tan is usually 150 to $200. And then any sort of other registration fees or things like that that may occur, um, you're definitely going to want to take into place. So show day alone on the low end NPC card, one category, your trunks and the tan, you're about $500 for men and about $1,000 for women. The next one's going to be travel. If you can find a show nearby, great. That's not always the case. So you have to figure hotel, travel accommodations, whether you're driving, flying, gas, those sorts of things. Taking time off of work is one that people don't underestimate. Are you able to take 3, 4, 5 days off of work? Yes, you could work up till the last couple of days, but if you're able to, obviously take a couple of days off leading up to the show and maybe a day or two after. But entirely up to you. And if you are traveling, do you have the time to take off? This can become one of the biggest expenses because it's now a double-edged sword. Not only are you taking time off from work, right? So that's kind of allowing you to not make as much money, but then you're spending money to get to where you need to be. Um, Men versus women costs, and we kind of touched on this. Women's divisions typically spend more. You have your hair, your makeup, your suit, your jewelry, your heels. Whereas men typically spend more on food, sometimes supplements. But realistically, it probably evens out closely. With the amount of food that most men require, they're probably spending over time the same amount that the women are going to spend on all of their show day preparations. So, total investment, if you're looking at competing, and again, this is a rough estimate and this depends on what you're doing, but um, for men, you're anywhere from about 2,500 to high end would be like 10,000. And that's not unreasonable. If you're getting ready for a national show, you got to fly across the country. Most of the time, you're going to want to be there a couple days in advance. If you don't want to just turn and burn, you're probably going to be there a few days after. So you're looking at four to five, if not a week of travel, hotel, and different accommodations. Um, so national level, you're probably closer to the 10 range. Entry level, you're probably $3,000 to $4,000. Women's divisions, you are usually right around that same boat, about 3,500 to 95, 10K-ish. So the biggest mistakes are that people think the expensive part is prep, and that's one of the biggest mistakes, but it isn't. The expensive part is trying to cut corners and having to prep again because you weren't ready. There's nothing worse than spending 12 to 16 weeks only to not really either look as good as you should or have to shut it down and pick a different show. That's why it's really important that if you do hire a coach correctly the first time. Do your due diligence, do your homework. I'll put out another video on what I would recommend when looking for a coach, questions to ask, things to look for, people to reach out to, and then that'll help you make a better decision. But a coach will also, if it's a good coach, save you money in saving you time and from making mistakes. So just remember, competing is not about having the deepest pockets. You can do it on a budget, but it's about understanding what you're signing up for altogether. Bodybuilding has given me some of the best experiences of my life, but it's also a huge financial and time commitment that you will make in your fitness journey. So go in with a plan, have a realistic budget, and make sure that your expectations match your goals. So that does it for this episode of Straight Talk. Make sure you guys like, follow, and subscribe if you are not already. Ring the bell, and I will catch you guys on the next one.